Hello and welcome to this new video tutorial of Adobe Commerce Cloud Multi-Vendor Marketplace by Webkul. In today's video tutorial, I'll be taking you through the backend configuration settings of this particular plugin in the admin backend panel after the successful installation of this particular plugin. So for that, what you need to do is you need to log into your admin backend panel and navigate through Stores, Configuration, and on the configuration page on the left hand side we have the Webkul block. Under the Webkul block we have the marketplace that gets visible after the successful installation of this particular plugin, and on the right hand side we have the complete configuration settings of the multi-vendor marketplace itself. But before we proceed further with this particular video tutorial today, please do subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to receive the latest updates from our end. And if you find this particular video helpful, then do give it a thumbs up. So you can see that the very first setting that we have here is the general settings. Now under the general settings, the very first option that we have is the admin name. Now here you need to enter the name that will be used in the marketplace transactional emails and other places where the admin name is required. Similarly, you have to set up the admin email ID, and the ID that you would have entered here would be used in the email templates and other places where the admin email is required. Then you will be able to set up the global commission rate. This is in percentage and it should be an integer value. So if it's entered as 20, then 20% would be the commission applicable on the marketplace vendors globally. You can also set up the per seller commission as well by navigating through marketplace management and going to manage seller and tapping on the particular seller's name, and under the customer information navigate to the commission section and change the commission as required for the per seller. Then we have the option to allow sellers to manage the orders. Now here you can choose two options, a yes or a no. If you've chosen it as a no, then the marketplace vendors would not be able to manage their orders. That is, they will not be able to generate the invoice and the shipments for their orders. Otherwise, if it is set as a yes, then the marketplace sellers would be able to manage their orders as required and can generate their invoices and shipments for the orders that have been placed for their particular products. Then we have move product tags to seller account. Now here you can move the product tags to the seller account as by choosing a yes, otherwise no as required. Then we have the seller approval required. So basically whenever a user comes to your marketplace and registers as a seller, then what happens is that if this option is set as seller approval required as no, then he automatically becomes a seller and the marketplace account panel dashboard appears after he has logged into his account panel. Otherwise, if you've chosen this as a yes, then the admin moderation is required. So after the admin approves that particular seller, only after that would the marketplace account block be or the panel be available to the marketplace vendors under their own account panel. Then we have set captcha enabled. So here you can enable the captcha that would be visible on the contact pop-up basically. So for example, if I'm going to a product page and I'm tapping here on the contact seller, here you'll find the please enter the desired result captcha, and this can be enabled from this particular section here. That's the set captcha as enabled. Then we have the allow sellers for Google Analytics. You can enable this option as required. If you enable this particular option, then the Google Analytics option wherein the sellers can enter their Google Analytics ID would be available under the edit seller profile page under the seller's account panel itself. So these were the general settings. Now coming to the seller dashboard setting. So right now you can see that we have set it as allow separate seller dashboard as no. Now in this case, for example, if you can see right now I'm logged in as a customer here. Let me log into the seller account. I'll just enter the credentials for the seller there, and I'll log into the seller account panel. So right now you can see that in the case when we have set this allow separate seller dashboard as no, and I go to the my account panel here, I can see the account dashboard for the marketplace vendor as well as for the customer as well, as you can see. So now also one more thing is that on the top end here in the top header, we don't see any vendor dashboard option that would allow a separate vendor dashboard there, and both of the customer account panel as well as the marketplace vendor account dashboard or the account block is visible to the sellers. Now we can separate that out by choosing this option as a yes. So if I set it as yes and save the configuration here, and after saving the configuration, let me flush the cache. And now you will be able to see now when I refresh this page, the vendor account block would be separated and we'll only be able to see the customer account block. So now you can see that we only have the customer account block, and on the top we have the vendor dashboard. Now if I tap on the vendor dashboard, I'll be able to see the vendor account panel options on the left hand side, and the view is exactly similar to that of the admin himself, as you can see. And from here you can just navigate to any of the sections as required. Now if you want to go back and check your buyer account panel options, you can tap here on the home button, and from here on the top you can choose my account and the buyer account option would be visible. Now one more thing is there. Now if I sign out, we still have the vendor dashboard option in the top. So if you want to log into a customer account, you can directly do that by tapping on the sign in option. Otherwise, if you directly want to log into your vendor dashboard, you can tap here on the vendor dashboard, and the same thing appears as you can see here. Now let me log into the vendor account dashboard here, and you can see that the same is visible again once again. Now let me make this setting as no, and let me save the configuration, and let me flush the cache once. And now if I refresh, then I'll now be able to see the same default one, having both the marketplace dashboard on the left hand side of the account panel options, account block, as well as the customer account block on the left hand side, as you can see. So this was the seller dashboard layout settings. Now coming to the seller flags. Basically, in the previous video, I've shown you how the admin would be able to set up the seller flags there, or the reasons for the seller flag in the marketplace management under the seller flag reason. Same goes for the product flag reason. Now here you can enable or disable this functionality for the seller flags. If you've chosen this as yes, then you can set up the text that is visible. Now if I take you to the front end here, for example, and I go to one of the seller what we say as the profile pages. So for example, let's go to this watch product, and here let me go to the profile page by tapping on the profile name there. Here you can see that we have the report seller label. Tapping that up brings up the report seller section, as you can see, with the other option as well, and the ones that has been, or the flag reasons that have been created by the admin as well. So we can choose the other as well, enter the other reason as well from the seller profile page. Coming back to this section, this is the same text label that is visible there. You can also enable whether the guests can flag a seller or not. You can choose the reasons as required or not. If chosen, if this field is set to yes required, make sure that some reasons are created and enabled, and only the first 5 reasons will be shown on the flag creation page. You can also choose to accept other reasons, as I've already shown you here, the other one. Let me cancel that out. And other fields placeholder has been also set up there. So that was the seller flags. Now coming to the seller product settings, here you will be able to set up the attribute set ID that would be available to the marketplace vendors while they're going to create the products there. So the attribute set that you have selected here, only those attribute sets would be available to the marketplace vendors while they are going to create a product there. Then we have the product approval required. So while a seller is adding a product, if you set this option as a no, then the products would be automatically approved and would be visible on the storefront there under the respective categories. Otherwise, the moderation is required by the admin to approve them first, and only then they'll be visible on the front end. The same goes with the product update approval required. In the case of product update, if no is set, then automatically the product would be updated and would be updated on the storefront as well. Otherwise, the moderation of the admin is required by approval of the product there. Only then that particular updated product would be visible on the storefront. Then we have the allowed category tree view, like admin product category tree. So if this option is set as yes, then the sellers will also get the category tree view just like the admin has in the admin backend in the default system as we have for the Magento. Apart from that, we can set up the allowed categories for the sellers to add products. Here you can enter the category IDs separated by a comma, and the category IDs that you have entered, only those categories would be available for the sellers to add the products. Then we have the product types for seller. So for the product types for seller, we have simple, downloadable, virtual, and configurable. So whichever product types that you have selected here would be available for the vendors to choose and to create the products. Then we have the allow sellers to add products with SKU type. So here you can choose it as static or dynamic. If you're chosen as dynamic, then you can add a prefix that would be added to the actual product as SKU. Then we have the allow sellers to add related products. So you can set it as yes or no. Allow sellers to add upsell products. Allow sellers to add cross-sell products. You also have the option to allow sellers to add limit on product purchase for customer. You can choose that option as a yes or a no as per your own requirement there. If you've chosen this as no, then it won't be applicable. Otherwise, if you've chosen it as yes, then you can set up the allowed product quantity on product purchase for customer. For example, if you have set it as 5, then the customer will be allowed to add a maximum 5 quantity of the products in the cart there. So this was the seller product settings. Coming to the product flags, the same goes with the product flags as we have seen the seller flags. You can enable it up. You can set the text that is visible on the product pages. For example, here report product is the label. Tapping that up, we have the reason created by the admin and the other one as well. If I take you back, whether guests can flag the particular product or not, whether the reasons are required, except other reasons, a yes or a no for that, and the other fields placeholder is as well available there. So this was the product flags. Now coming to the seller order settings, here you will be able to set up the order approval required or not. If it is set as no, then whenever the order has been placed for the vendor products, they'll be auto approved. Otherwise, the approval of the admin is required before the order is being configured by the or being processed by the vendor there. Then we have the minimum order amount settings. You can enable or disable this option as well. That's the minimum order amount there. If you've chosen it as yes, then you can set up the minimum amount, and you can also set up the amount value for the sellers. So if you have chosen this as a yes and you have entered the minimum amount here, then the amount value will be used for those sellers who have not filled in their minimum order amount. So let me set it as no for the time being, and okay. Coming to the inventory settings, here you will be able to set up the what we say as the low notifications there for the inventory. If you have chosen this as a yes, then you can set up the low stock quantity there, and accordingly this would allow to send the low stock notification mails to the sellers when the product quantity will be equal or less than this particular quantity that you have set. Coming to the seller profile page settings, now here you will be able to enable or disable the seller profile details on the product page. So for example, if I take you to the product page, here you can see the details are thereby sold by and the details of the particular seller there. Now here we have two different types of cards that can be used. So if I choose it as type 2 and save the configuration, let me set it as no, and let's save the configuration there, and let me flush the cache. So right now you can see that it's at the bottom there. Now if I refresh the page, the same details will be visible at the top of the product there. As you can see, now they are visible at the top of the product. The seller shop name, the location, the contact seller, and the report product is visible at the top of the thing there. Now coming back, similarly here you can set up the seller policy enabled at front end, then the seller policies would be visible at the storefront. You can set up to rewrite the seller's shop URL, and this would allow the sellers to manage their own shop URL as required. You can also set up to allow to automatically create seller public URL on seller registration. So you can choose a yes or a no. You can allow to show the featured sellers on the sell page as well. Then we have the marketplace seller review settings. So here you can choose to make a review on only order purchases. Then we have the landing page settings. Basically So here we have three different layouts. So if I take you to this particular section and I sign out and I go to the cell page, here's the cell page, as you can see, with the registration option as well, and the different sections and the icons there. So these are customizable and you can customize them according to your need from this particular section, like open your shop, return, easy to set up and customize, and much more. As you can see, we have the icons as well. So here we have three different layouts that can be chosen. I've already shown you one layout. You can apply any other two layouts as well according to your own requirement. Then we have the seller layered navigation. Here you will be able to display the seller filter in the layered navigation. You can choose it as a yes. Then you will be able to display the name for the admin in the layered navigation, and the name that you have entered here will be used for the admin's product in the layered navigation. Coming to the seller sitemap settings, here you will be able to allow the seller's URL in sitemap, seller's profile URL in sitemap, the URL frequency in the sitemap, and the URL priority in the sitemap. Same goes with the collection URL in the sitemap, collection URL frequency in the sitemap, and the collection URL priority in the sitemap as well, as per your own requirement there. Then we have the marketplace product page fields hints, and here you can enable those hints as well, for example for product category, product name, product description. So you can set up the hints for the marketplace product page field hints. Then we have the marketplace profile page hints. So for the profile pages as well you can enable the profile hints, and for example, do you want to become a seller or a vendor? On the registration page you can set up a hint for that, and on the hovering of the mouse the hints would be displayed. And lastly, we have the marketplace transactional emails, like for the seller approval template, seller request template, seller unsubscribe template, seller state processing template, and much more. So you have to select them as per your own requirement. For more details about the configuration settings of the Adobe Commerce Cloud Multi-Vendor Marketplace plugin, you can check the user guide that I have attached within the description of this particular video there. So yes, that was much about the plugin itself, and I hope it helped you out in understanding the configuration settings there. If you still have any questions, queries, suggestions, or requirements, then you can anytime get back to us at support@webkul.com, or you can raise a ticket at webkul.uvidesk.com as well. Apart from that, please do subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates from our end. And lastly, thanks for watching this particular video, and have a great day ahead.